Super Bowl champs next year.
Whoa.
I seen enough of them last year and not believing in them to actually believe in them for next year. All they needed in the playoffs was experience. Big believer now. I didn't all year last year. So mark it down. Here we go. This is my new Carolina Panthers of 2027.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans and welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. It is breakdown NFC North time this week. We're going to talk everything about NFC North and all the teams that are in it and some best case, worst case scenarios. The boys are all back ready and raring to go. Boys, just like last week, I've been in this weird spot where I haven't talked to anyone all week. I've had the shits, so I've been waiting to talk to you three.
That's great for us.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Ian's shitting his pants and he wants to talk to us. Awesome.
Well, that's usually where I do most of my communicating with you, Brad.
Well, it's usually where I spend most of my time, so it's all right.
I don't know about you. Seems like it's the only way I can get away from work these days.
Yes.
I'd just like to confirm with Brad what division we're actually doing this week. Are we doing AFC or NFC this week, Brad? That's the big question.
We can do a little bit of both. You know, I'm fluid. You know, I can go either way.
Don't be a fence sitter.
You heard it here first. Brad is fluid.
No,
I thought he was going with flaccid, but anyway.
Flaccid Joe Flacco. That was last week.
Oh man!
Out of the four of us, I would have picked Brad every day of the week to be gender neutral. So.
Oh, I see how it is. No.
Leave them alone.
What a fantastic week, boys! It's the off season. Combine started this week, so the Underwear Olympics officially kicks off over the weekend. We had all of the GM and head coach press conferences all on the first day. It's like they tried to cram every one of them into the same day now.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, just the off season. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
There's so much information that just sort of hits the news network all at once on that day with the GM and head coach interviews at the Combine. It's like you just get bombarded by NFL insiders and aggregators, just bing, 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 bing. Your phone's just going off. You know, your battery goes flat from the amount of notifications you've got. Usually it's all the same thing too, or they just repost the same thing 3 times. Ian Rappaport is great for it. Yeah,
it's never really anything significant. It's just little shit stuff trying to get something out into the media to get them talking about it. So
there's some interesting. There's a couple of interesting bits, but yeah, you got to really sift through all the chaff to get there.
That's right. And not only is it Combine week, but the NRL is over in Vegas this week. We've got 2 games over there, and there's a lot of NFL stuff on the news over here with the NRL teams going to visit the Raiders complex and all that type of stuff. So it's always good to get that exposure.
Yeah, sure is.
Who's trying to meet Tom Brady?
Everyone to meet Tom Brady.
I read an interesting article about because the NFL network is being kind of taken control of by ESPN.
Yep.
They were talking about like Ian Rappaport and Shefty working together, being on the same network, and what that could potentially be like. And I didn't realize how competitive it is for those guys to be first to break a story, and literally like comes down to, sometimes they were saying it comes down to seconds, like who can literally tweet it out the fastest.
Yeah.
And they've kind of had their own lane for a long time on separate networks, but that was a big thing that dropped during the week. All that really officially took over. Rappaport actually said he's still negotiating his contract and what it looks like. So that's an interesting little tidbit. Like, how much more of a contract can you really negotiate, and what are you going to do? Like, is he trying to push Schefter out? or do they have to negotiate days that they're allowed to be on TV? Or like, it's just very strange.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are on social media. Would you say Ian has a more larger presence on social media and Shefty's more of like on TV, or is it? You guys
Shefty's
tell
probably
me.
more followed, I think. Yeah.
Is he?
Honestly, I can't even tell them apart, really. Like, I get notifications off both of them on X, and I'm just, I don't even know which one's which. If you put them in front of me, I couldn't tell you which one's Schefter and which one's Rappaport.
I had to can the Schefter notifications because it was just his stuff all ended up being shit most of the time, and he was just talking nonsense and talking about other things, and it's just like, no thanks. Whereas Rappaport seemed to get a lot more just actual tidbits of info out there in a more timely manner, I guess. And I could at least read a notification and go, okay, that thing's happening. But he still does do some really annoying shit, like posts officially official. Like, that's what the notification you get is. You have to actually click on the notification because he's retweeted something he tweeted and then just puts officially official. Like, what are we doing that for? But anyway, there's small gripes about just, I guess that's just them trying to get clicks more than anything and stay relevant. But yeah, there was a couple of interesting things out of the combine though. Like a few players that we found out that are going to be franchise tagged. For instance, Kyle Pitts is going to be franchise tagged. There was the Kirk Cousins news that the Falcons said that they confirmed to Kirk Cousins himself that they are going to release him officially on the first day of the league year. So they're giving him a bit of time to be able to, him and his agent, a bit of time to be able to figure out what they want to do going forward.
What do you guys think of the Cousins thing? Or sorry, not the Cousins thing, but the Kyle Pitts thing. I was a little surprised they signed him, but I get it in the sense of it's still not egregious, like the cost. What was it, $15 million? But it still surprised me.
I don't mind it too much because Stefanski generally has a good tight end and a good tight end scheme when he goes there. So they could probably really unlock him, and he had quite a good year last year. So I don't mind it. It gives him another chance that if he has another season like he did in his first 2 or 3 seasons in the league, then they can cut their losses and say, all right, we're not going to sign you. You can go sign somewhere else.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a 5th-year option type thing for them.
Yeah, it would be. And there's all sorts of other bits and pieces coming out about different players signing here and there, and teams confirming whether or not they're going to cut, like whether they are going to trade players, put them on the blocks. There was the talk from the Dolphins actually about the fact that everything is on the schedule at the moment, or in play for Tua, even right down to a trade. So that whole thing is up in the air. They've had talks to him about all of that. So that was quite interesting, where they even admitted to, well, basically it's GMs, I think, shopping around players at the moment, like saying, yeah, we're open to trade that guy, just to maybe see if they'll get some phone calls about it as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a few interesting ones come out of the Baltimore Ravens one as well, that the negotiations are going well with Lamar, and I think they said they've tabled a landmark deal to the guard we were talking about last week, Landerbottom.
The center, Tyler Linderbaum.
That's right. So they've tabled quite a significant offer to him, which would indicate that he's going to stay. So yeah, a few little news notes out of that.
That was a bit of an interesting sequence actually, because he said he hadn't made up his mind yet, and then they basically came out and said that they'd given him a really, really good offer, and it's kind of like they tried to force his hand to say, we need you to hurry up and sign this thing.
Yeah.
It's a very weird and interesting situation, that one was.
Yeah.
And in news of the hell just froze over, you saw Sean Payton take a step back and show some humility and handed play calling duties to Davis Webb. So that surprised me. It's like, what? Sean Payton's not going to take the glory for this? So I'll be curious to see how that plays out and if that lasts a full season. I know it may seem inconsequential, but it just kind of goes against Sean Payton and his ego.
I think that's in Sean Payton's world, mate. I think that's called setting up a fall guy.
I love it.
Ian with the confidence in in Sean. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's what that's called. There was the Texans shutting down trade rumors about CJ Stroud altogether, basically calling it moronic that any talk of trade that they would trade him at all. Moronic.
Yeah, all that type of
Who's
shit
actually taking him on?
doesn't mean anything these days, eh?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
seriously, like, you sit there and you listen to it when the GMs come out and they say, this coach is safe for the next, his job's secure. 2 weeks later, they're fired. Like,
Yeah.
I don't take anything from that, I wouldn't think. But
You know what? It's
maybe
moronic to think. It's moronic to think that way right now, and it is because this whole free agency market is incredibly soft, so weak.
Yeah.
Essentially, the top quarterback that anybody is talking about in the free agency market right now is Malik Willis. So it's so weak in that way. So who knows what if one of these teams came and offered a reasonably good deal for CJ Stroud, the Texans aren't going to listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
to Nick's point where he said who's going to take him, it's probably a swap there between the Texans and Miami. Who would say no to that?
Miami could take him.
What,
the Jets
Stroud
could.
for tour?
Yeah.
But it's like it's not the dumbest idea from them. With Davis Mills, Dougie Davis Mills, they went 3-0 at the start of the last season with Davis Mills. If they don't need a top caliber quarterback, because that's not what that team's set up like either. They're set up as a very defensive unit. So
He
you only
started
need someone
that team
that's serviceable.
About,
Nick, go on.
I was going to say, this is a random trade I just floated. What about if you organise a deal between, if they can get Joe Burrow and then CJ Stroud with some picks? Burrow finally gets a defense.
No.
The Bengals have money to spend and they can spend it on defense.
That offensive line's not any
you go
better than the
Stroud-
bloody Bengals one. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to stay alive.
I just find I think
That's all right. He's got a defense. He only needs to score 2 touchdowns to win a game.
to me
Yeah,
it makes more
he's
sense.
got to stay
that
alive. He's got to have
if
limbs.
one of the, yeah, that's right. I think if one of the teams that are up the top end, the top 10 in the draft, came knocking and said, "We'll give you the first and something else for him," I think that they would jump at it. Because again,
Houston. Yeah.
I don't
think they
know,
would.
because you'd want to draft
know,
a
Arizona,
quarterback,
maybe?
and there's nothing
you do
really
that,
there after
do that, and then sign Kirk
Mendoza.
Cousins for 1 year for $15 million.
You can't
could-
take Kirk
Done and
Cousins.
dusted. You know,
Kirk Cousins is going somewhere else.
Kirk Cousins behind that defense. Brad, your team actually signed some people this week.
Who did?
Your team,
Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
the Cowboys, Brad.
Sorry.
Javonte Williams gets a three-year, $24 million deal, $16 million guaranteed.
Yeah. No, and I'm fine with that. I mean, he had a great year last year. So he came back from Denver, and Denver his rookie year he did really well. Then he obviously blew out his knee and had some pretty traumatic injury, and kind of limped along for a couple years. But now he's 3 years removed from, I think, major the injury, and he had a really, really good year. So if they hadn't have re-signed him, it would have been a major distraction, and you would have been forced into drafting somebody and hoping that they panned out. So no, it was necessary, and I was happy with it.
That's that $24 million deal is $16 million guaranteed. So essentially works out to about $2.5 million ish per year for the next 3 years is all they owe him after that $16 million signing bonus. So that's bugger all for such a great product, essentially.
And it kind of just shows, again, just how far the running back's value has fallen.
The another great wide receiver that the Steelers let go. They franchise tagged George Pickens, Brad.
Again, you had to. I mean, there's no way you could just let him walk.
What's the wide receiver franchise tag now? Is it like $40 million?
No. It's only like 20 something. 24, I think. And so, I was perfectly happy with it. Odds are they're going to try. Well, what a normal team would do is franchise tag him and then sign the long-term deal. What the Cowboys will do is franchise tag him, let him sit the year on the franchise tag, play the year on the franchise tag, create more drama, have it cost him a lot more money in the long run, and then have him get all pissy, and then they'll try and sign him. But that's just the way the Cowboys do things.
Correct.
I was going to say, Brad. I think Brandon Aubrey's after, because I think he's a free agent. He's after 10.5 per year at the moment.
I was getting there. They signed Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah.
Well, they tried to sign Brandon Aubrey. He rejected a $7.5 million per year offer. He reportedly wants to be close to $10 million a year and reset the kicker market. Brad's three words to me when I told him this. Brad's 3 words were, he's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely he is.
Not wrong. I agree.
Absolutely. Tell me any other guy who can consistently, you feel like, okay, if he needs to get a 60-yarder, he's going to get a 60-yarder. He's changed the game. So, and every year could be different. Who knows? But he's worth it. Just sign him. I don't care. As long as you're not paying $20 million to the guy, get $10 million, $12 million. I don't care. He give it to him.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So lots and lots going on. There's guys. I think. Isaac just brought up as well. Apparently, the Jets are franchise tagging Breece Hall. So that's
Poor Breece Hall.
Poor Breece Hall. Exactly.
Yeah,
Literally.
Unlucky.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. I kind of just go, nah. I think it's mainly probably just because he is stuck on the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I it doesn't move the needle for me, that one. Like, it's bad for the Jets and probably bad for Breece Hall.
All right, let's get into the breakdown of NFC North. We did the AFC North last week. Let's go NFC North this week. And I guess, where would we like to kick off? 4 teams, the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions. Anyone got a good suggestion on where to kick off NFC North breakdown?
Well, I think we probably have to start at the Vikings. And Ian, we want to keep this to a 1-hour podcast. So if you can,
I don't want to talk about the Vikings.
Keep it nice and brief, and that'll be ideal, mate. Off you go.
Why do I have to start that?
Because it's your team. What do you want to see?
So what?
What do you want them to do in free agency?
Minnesota Vikings, I guess, is it's pretty simple. We've got to figure out what's going on offense and who's leading that team and where we go from there. That's the biggest talking point. The defense is fine, absolutely more than fine. And when you get B-Flow returning for what is another year, but probably several other years on the Vikings, then that really gives that a lot of stability. They went deep into the draft and signed guys in free agency last year on defense, so I expect them to do just as much on offense this year. Without Kwesi now as GM, and we've got, I guess, a brains trust of other executives in the coaching department running the draft and free agency. We'll probably see, I guess, a few more logical moves that are going to be them trying to put themselves back into that contenders position that they were in 2024. with that 14-3 season, that stonking season in the entirety of the NFC North. And it'll be them trying to push that forward. Is that going to be JJ McCarthy? Look, I don't think so. I think he'll be on the team. I don't agree with a lot of other people that keep saying that they'll move him off the team. But I think that they will try and find a veteran presence to push him, and probably someone that he can learn a lot more of the craft off, because I think he's the kind of kid that needs a couple more seasons before he's truly, truly ready. But it's a hard one, because then you get stuck in this mode of, if you bring in a veteran and they do okay and then suddenly don't, everyone's going to be screaming for JJ McCarthy and just give him a shot. And is he really going to be better? Will he have learnt anything? And there's all that sort of stuff, as well as just the health questions. But it is essentially leadership. Lose a few players offensively and defensively to retirements and various other things. CJ Ham is gone. He's been an absolute stalwart of that team, so one of the massive locker room leaders as well. Are we going to get Harrison Smith back? There's always talk that he's going to retire because he has played 14 seasons in the league at this point, so there's that as well. But I think it all really boils down to, boys, who leads that offense, who moves them forward, and where does Kevin O'Connell go from that point?
And they've got to protect McCarthy. I think that's the key thing. That offensive line, 57 and 33. Those are the two numbers that you got to be aware of. And that's Darnold's sack total. When 57 when he was with the Vikings, 33 when he was with the Seahawks, and I think that is a huge difference. You got to keep McCarthy upright, and I know they've got to do a lot of cap clearing because they're, like I say, way over the cap.
Yeah. $42 million in the red.
Jeez.
The highest of any team in all 32 teams.
And that's with a rookie quarterback salary.
Yeah. Because they went deep and hard into sort of Super Bowl mode and thought that they could achieve it. Now, of course, there's the JJ McCarthy of it all last season, where there's the talk of that's not what Kevin O'Connell really wanted to go with. And could that have been part of a massive reason why Kwesi got the boot, who coincidentally ended up picking up a job back with the 49ers this week as well. So kudos to the NFL, where you can completely fail and ruin a franchise and just pick up a job 2 weeks later. There's the talk that Kevin O'Connell wanted someone much better, much sooner, that he wanted to keep Darnold, that he wanted to offer Daniel Jones more, that he wanted Aaron Rodgers on the team, and the deals just didn't get done when they should have got done. So, those kind of things. And I agree. If we would have had Rodgers on that team, would we have done better? Probably. Would he have got hurt more often because the offensive line is worse? Definitely. So, there's always that, because we probably might have ended up with a Jet situation where he might have ended up breaking another Achilles, because offensively our line is woeful, unlike the Steelers, who have sensational O-line. So, yeah, and Brad, you're right. It's the O-line. That's where it all is. It's those five guys right in the middle of the park.
If it was
by
me,
five, I mean the quarterback and for the four linemen. So.
Yeah, if it was me, I'd turn to Old Faithful, not Aaron Rodgers. It'd be Kirk Cousins. As soon as he gets bought out by the Falcons, you can get him on a minimum deal, and that means you're not biting into that into the red some more there on the salaries. So you get him back. He knows the system. He knows Kevin O'Connell. Justin Jefferson played well with him there. I think he's got to go back. He played well with Atlanta at the end there. They went on like a 5-game win streak to equal the South leaders. So if they won one more game, they would have been in the playoffs, and it would have been Kirk Cousins leading them to the playoffs. So he hasn't been playing bad. He got a good deal at the Falcons, in which he should have taken. But now he probably needs to take the minimum deal, go there and try and get the Vikings back into the playoffs, and teach JJ McCarthy. Just teach him how to be an NFL quarterback, even if it's 2 years on a minimum deal. You can do that and go there for 2 years, and then kind of like what Green Bay do, they sit him behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. You learn for 2 or 3 years, and then you come into the league and you're ready to go.
Is that then? I was going to say that it's probably, well, it's a tough sell, obviously, to JJ McCarthy to be like, well, obviously, you needed to sit for a year after being named the starter. The other factor to this is because he's voiced this concern sort of recently about, the QB situation himself, obviously, apart from Kevin O'Connell, was Justin Jefferson. So at what point is, he can come to it and then, let's say another year where it's not a replica of this year, but, maybe McCarthy either has injury troubles again or just doesn't improve at all. And then, he's already voiced his concerns. I mean, you'd obviously get a bag for him, but, you don't want to be losing a player like that because of all decisions organizationally. So that to me, if we're doing the best case, worst case, that's the worst case looking at the end of the year, is if, Minnesota are, let's say, sitting fourth in the NFC North next season, and that's because of it, and their defense is still really good. That's a worst case because obviously they've got to clear out some guys, so they are going to lose some guys, so they've got to hit on the draft. But if they then have, their best player on the trade block, it's big problems as well with the rest of that division being pretty young and getting better.
And there's a big chance of that happening too. Like when I say to go back to Kirk Cousins when he was there, I think they had like 12 one-score games where they won them all. So if they'd lost them all, then they're one of the worst teams in the league. So there's a high chance of Justin Jefferson wanting out if he doesn't get a decent quarterback and some help.
Yeah, and I think with getting rid of, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, the GM. I think that was a good. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to try. I think they got to draft better. They need to hit on the draft. So, we talk best case, worst case. Best case is they actually do get a starter and maybe a cornerback starter. I read somewhere that they haven't drafted a Pro Bowl cornerback in over 10 years. So whether I don't know if that's because they whiffed on guys or if they just haven't put the time into it. But that's a premium position, and you have to invest some higher draft picks in that. So, and you can't just keep hoping that Flores just does these crazy blitzes and kind of makes up for it. You need to be able to have a decent cornerback who can produce. I think best case. So we've already been touching upon it, but best case, worst case, where do you guys see them finishing record wise? I mean, best case, I could see them getting 11 wins. Worst case, I think they're sitting right below, in that 6-7 win category, especially if McCarthy's, if they don't solve the quarterback situation, if their cap cuts hurt them, and that type of thing. So, but what do you guys think? Best case, worst case?
I'll go. Best case, obviously for the Vikings, it's every single year. Best case, playoff win. Like that's clearly you get a decent quarterback. You fix some problems with the O-line. You draft well. I think that's all you need. I think when you go, the quarterback play and the O-line play, because as we saw in 2024, both of those were elevated. They were in the playoffs, and I think that's all you need there. Worst case scenario is it all goes wrong again because the cap situation could prevent us from even signing someone like Kirk Cousins as a free agent because of how dire it is, because we're going to need to move guys to get rid of that cap situation. Some other guys, Justin Jefferson, for instance, are probably going to have to restructure deals to help get rid of some of that nonsense. He's probably the easiest one. Restructure his deal and restructure a couple other guys' deals, and you're going to have cap room. Yeah. So that's. But if we don't do those things, then we're going to be in hell, and we're going to be third or fourth in the division again.
Yeah,
Still a half decent team, and still finishing at the bottom of the division, because that's what happened this year.
as much as I hate to say it, your probably best case scenario is potentially getting Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, and giving Justin Jefferson someone that's actually going to get him the ball if they can protect Aaron Rodgers. Your worst case scenario, like Nick mentioned before, is JJ wants out by the end of it. He's had enough. Like if McCarthy's in there at quarterback, he didn't target him last year when he was on the field. Like it was like Justin Jefferson wasn't out there at all. So your worst case scenario is that he wants out. And just to Brad's point about drafting well, Manjot's mock draft, they have a cornerback going there, which is what you're saying, Brad. The Terrell from Clemson. So yeah, Brad and Manjot think the same.
Said no one ever.
There we go. Righto, let's move on. Next team, NFC North. Let's go straight to the top. Chicago Bears. Brad, do you want to kick us off?
Your Chicago Bears.
Not mine.
Okay. Fair enough. I would say the Chicago Bears are definitely got a different vibe. If you heard some of the Ben Johnson talk in Indy this week, he's talking about basically how everybody's forgotten about him, and he's right in the sense that new year, new expectations. They got the division title, which was nice, but they also exited the playoffs. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything. And they're in a new situation in the sense that the vibe is now urgency. It's disciplined roster building, and you're a front office that's trying to win now without recreating the Ryan Pace, let's borrow from tomorrow type of hangover. So they've really it's a new spot for them basically, and you've got some real question marks around left tackle especially because their Aussie Trapilio, I believe is how you pronounce their left tackle. He's expected to miss most of the season after a patellar tendon injury. So they have to figure out what they're going to do at left tackle. You do not want to go in to the regular season next year with a turnstile. Just ask Joe Burrow and the Bengals how patchwork offensive lines work out. And then you got to get some juice from that defensive line, and then also DJ Moore. What's going to happen there? He had a career worst year and for reception yards and catches. So, and yet he's been I think he's going to make 26 million this year. So do you cut him? Do you consider cutting him for cap space? But he's still really important. So there's some real question marks around there. I worry about him. What do you guys think?
Oh, Nick, I'll let you go.
I was going to say one thing that stands out for me. We've spoken about this obviously the last few years, particularly with teams that are heavily reliant on turnovers to be somewhat productive on defense. That coupled with one score games. So, and also as well with the first place schedule now. So they come into next season as being, in their division, the hunted team. They do need to fix up a lot of work on their defense. Probably up front is probably their biggest need. They need someone other than Sweat. Obviously, been rumors about Max Crosby in that trade. That's probably where you might include DJ Moore into that deal. Because if you're looking at really, they've got guys at receiver now, the Bears, and they've obviously got Loveland there as well. They are a run team. They've got their O-line pretty much almost all set, apart from with the left tackle injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe try and make a move there, or maybe go after a Trey Hendrickson. Either way, as we spoke about last week, in the first round, you can look at guys that can come off the edge. Your big uglies in the middle that can stop the run. Um, you know, even guys on the back end, so they could try and draft like a corner or safety or anything in the first round. So there is some opportunities in the first few rounds for them to fix up their defense. It does need to be done though, because although they were able to go through this year where they pulled the rabbit out of the hat a few times, you don't really expect that to continue. Plus, being turnover reliant on defense to be able to generate stops other than forcing teams off the field non-turnover wise. So if they can fix up their defense, they could probably get back to where they were and have another crack at it again. But yeah, big thing is obviously that defense. Their offense is pretty much set. They've got another year under Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams taking another year. He, as long as he really improves his completion percentage, that's all they really need. Their run game's set. So yeah, it's just one of those years where it's just challenging to just see how they deal with being that team that's hunted now with Green Bay having some guys back. We'll talk about, and then as well Detroit we'll talk about in a minute with maybe some of their guys coming back and see how they come into next year. But yeah, bit of a strange year coming up for Chicago, but it obviously if they hit on the draft defensively, they might be able to maintain the position.
Best
All
case,
right.
worst case scenarios. Try that. Let's just start leading into that one, Isaac.
Okay.
I know you'll be able to structure yours best.
Worst case scenario. I don't really have one. Like Nick probably said, that the one score games is quite troubling from last year. That if again I talked about the Minnesota Vikings of a couple of years ago where they won 7 or 8 of those games. If you lose them, you're bottom of the division. Best case scenario, you might want to just put a mark on this one, Ian. Chicago Bears, Super Bowl champs next year.
Whoa.
I seen enough of them last year and not believing in them to actually believe in them for next year. I reckon all they needed in the playoffs was experience, and they come up against an experienced Rams team and they lost in overtime. Just like it was real close to actually for them to come back. And if Ben Johnson went for the 2 points, they probably could have got it, and they would have been in that next game against the Seattle Seahawks. So, yeah, I'm a big believer now. I didn't all year last year. Caleb Williams has another year under his belt. I reckon they keep DJ Moore just purely for the fact that the last 3 or 4 weeks in the seasons and in the playoffs, he was their man in the fourth quarter. They targeted him and he pulled them out of the shitter a lot of the time. You didn't get that from Roma Dunze and Luther Burden. You got that from DJ Moore. So, and you can't put a price on that when it comes into the playoffs. So mark it down. Here we go. This is my new Carolina Panthers of 2026, 2027.
I think you'll be a touch more successful than you were with last year's Panthers call. But I love this from you that you will chuck some kind of outlandish statement in there that we can follow up later in the season in these best case, worst cases. I knew you'd bring the goods. Brad, best case, worst case.
Best case is the pass rush develops, and you see Caleb Williams continue to take another step forward. Left tackle's not an issue. They need to sign a veteran there. They keep Tyson Bagent because apparently there's a lot of rumors around him being traded. So that's the best case, and I think best case they're top of the division and a Super Bowl contender. Worst case, they don't solve the left tackle issue, and DJ Moore I think, becomes a cap cut, and Tyson Bagent is traded for a pick, and then Williams goes down, and they finish 7-10, 6-11, something like that.
Nick, give me best case, worst case while I get myself out of silhouette mode.
I was going to say
And
best
fix
case
my light.
for
Best
Ian's
case is
household
easy.
is
Can I-
we get some lighting, because
It's about the
for
only
those
time I'm
that
going to be
aren't
able
watching
to do these ones.
for those that aren't watching the video version, Ian's gone with power. You can
Go
just
to,
see the purple in the background.
Go to
Yeah,
G'day Gridiron on YouTube. You'll see right now, there, some silhouette action.
I feel like Ian needs a safe word.
This is how horror movies start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Oh,
All right.
man.
Best case. Let's think about best case. So best case really for the Bears is that obviously we talked about they saw that defense, they get a lot better. Um, and obviously we spoke about their close games with pulling rabbits the hats.
Hmm.
More so that if they're able to back that up again, you sort of have more confidence in what they can do, what this team can become really with Caleb Williams, and you really say, well, he can, he's that guy, he's that next guy. Like, Mahomes has got the ball, 2 minutes left, one score, they'll do it. If you have that same sort of vibe, it's a great place to be. Um, so that's best case scenario. And maybe, maybe Isaac's right. Maybe that's that next step. So the next step, obviously, is the conference title game. So obviously that plays into it as well. Worst case really is they take a step back. They went from 2 years ago being a bit like the Chargers, where they had crazy amount of injuries on their O line, and this year became the healthiest on the O line. So out of all their guys, they actually played the highest percentage of snaps for the entire season from their starting O line. So that's quite a swing from 1 year to the next.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario is if obviously they get caught with injuries again with that. We know Ben Johnson, when he was at Detroit, incredible O-line, particularly on the interior. The first thing he did last season, he came in, right, let's
Yep.
fix up the interior of the O-line. So obviously if they get injuries there, but also having a bit of a tougher schedule this year. And, if they don't hit on defense, then, they could be sort of middle of the pack, maybe fighting for a, 6 seed or something like that. So a wild card seed. So that's probably worst case scenario. I don't see them dropping off too far because I think their offense will get them. Like Ben Johnson's a really good play for. I can't see Caleb Williams regressing that much. So, worst case scenarios, they're probably like a wild card team really for what they've got.
Those. Now that I have got myself out of seduction mode, that's my worst case scenario.
You've always seduced me.
Best case scenario, you'd like to come
Avoided
back
the
on.
worst case.
Best case scenario is I found a light that works. So, all right. I don't think I needed to put any more input into any of that. You guys nailed everything about the Chicago Bears, even giving us some really good clips there for the week, I think, too. So, Green Bay Packers, the 9-7-1 Green Bay Packers from 2025. Isaac, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, the Packers, I just see them like doggy paddling in the ocean. They're just stagnant. I don't see them really improving, and I don't see them really regressing. They're doing it by wide receiver committee. Jordan Love is a decent NFL quarterback. You've got Micah Parsons, who's probably not going to play. He probably won't be back next year, who they traded for. So, like, what is their defense going to do now? Their big swing this year was Micah Parsons, and although he played really well, he's not going to be there for the start of next year. You don't know when he's coming back. Is he going to come back healthy? Is he going to come back too quick? You just don't know. And in a really tough division, if everything goes right, you're going to be struggling. And I just don't think they've found that wide receiver. They've got the tight end to come back, but will he come back healthy? Will it be the same? You just don't know. Kind of like after he went down last year, they kind of become very stagnant on offense. So Yeah, for me, it's just like, yeah, just out in the middle of the ocean with nowhere to go, up or down. You can't see land anywhere.
Mm, mm. Nick, what are your thoughts on the Packers?
I was pretty bullish on them last year. I picked them to win the division. Um, they were pretty much on that sort of trajectory, and then it just seemed like their defense really fell apart. Obviously, Micah Parsons being out sort of led that. So, um, does he come back next year? If he does, it'll probably be, at the very, very, very earliest mid-season.
Mm,
But yeah, they're just stuck in this cycle of just being, obviously the last 3 seasons they've been 7 seed, 17, 7 seed. So they're a little bit, sort of the NFC Pittsburgh Steelers at the moment. They're just sort of got to break it through and just they really tried to do that obviously with the Micah Parsons trade and obviously
yeah.
trying to boost up what they had on that side. Um, yeah, it's just they're in this sort of weird spot. They can't really sign a lot of free agents. I mean, they're a little bit over the cap, so they might be able to maybe restructure some guys and everything like that. You probably would love to get Malik Willis back, but he's probably going to get a big deal.
Mm,
Someone's probably that doesn't have a quarterback is probably going to be like, we'll take a flyer on him. Someone with a lot of money. Considering Jordan Love had some issues last year, you really need Love to really just take the next step. I know this year sort of cut out the sort of turnovers and the interceptions and everything like that. So that was good on his part. But for what they're paying him, they've really got to get him to take the next step. Because obviously now you've got Caleb Williams in the division. Um, so he's not by default, maybe the best quarterback now in that division. So he's really got to obviously step up. He's got those receivers there. Still got Josh Jacobs there with the run game. So yeah, it's just a bit weird. But obviously, if Chicago pulls back, you don't know what you're going to get from Detroit. Really, we'll talk about them in a minute. But Minnesota as well. This could be something where it opens up for them. But again, they've got to be the ones to take their opportunity. They should have done it last week or this season, and they didn't. But they're just not a team that's just been opportunistic, really.
mm, mm. Yeah, for me, I feel like you guys hit on it. The roster is good enough to dream, but they're also flawed enough to where they can completely face plant on the situation. So you just they're right out there on that, like what you said, Nick, 7 seed, 7 seed, 7 seed, and they took their shot with Parsons, and obviously it didn't pan out. I worry about what are they going to do on that offensive line because they really regressed, especially when it comes to like pass blocking. And Rasheed Walker, he's their left tackle right now. He's likely going to be priced out because he's a free agent. So then they're talking about bringing in Jordan Morgan, and that guy's played like every position, like just like 100 snaps at every position. So he's just one of these do-it-alls. But I don't know if he can take the full-time load at left tackle. And then they got to get an outside corner. Nixon and Valentine, I just don't think are good enough to do it. And then on defense, you're paying Rashawn Gary a ton of money, but he's just not producing. So you got to get more production out of him, and because otherwise you're putting it all on Van Ness, their edge guy, and he hasn't shown yet unless he takes a major step forward. I don't think they've got it, especially without Parsons in the beginning of the season. So I think this could be a really a regression for Green Bay this year. So we'll see. But Ian, how do you see him?
Look, there's a lot both of you said there that I totally agree with. Like, you need a backup, number one, and so you need to really hang on to Malik Willis because
Yeah.
I think you can't rely on Jordan Love. He's one of those guys, like a lot around the league at the moment. You can't really rely on to stay healthy and stay productive. And a lot of that is of your own doing. Get a wide receiver, for God's sakes. Pick one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Figure it out, because Tucker Craft cannot be your number one receiver. Your tight end cannot be your number one receiver. It's an
He can't
absolute
stay
joke.
healthy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So pick a wide receiver that does well. So figure that part out. Look, I think after so many years, the Romeo Dobbs experiment needs to end. And I think that needs to be where you start looking for a wide receiver as well. Like, clear up some space there. Figure out if Matt Golden is actually going to be a proper number one, where you drafted him as a first round wide receiver, the first time in ever that they did that. So figure that part out. And then, look, I think I totally agree with you, Brad, in terms of defensively. Tried to add pieces, like huge trade for Micah Parsons. Well, now you've gone and made that trade. You don't have draft picks. You don't have stuff that you can rely on. So now you have to figure that out in free agency. Now you have to figure that out through the back end of a draft, drafting guys that you need to develop. So you really need to have a plan there. If you don't have a plan, you don't have a good backup quarterback, you don't have a defensive scheme because it's all new, with Gannon coming in now this season as well. How's that going to look? Where are you? It's limbo. So I think I agree with you totally, Brad, is that there's a definite regression year on the horizon. Is it going to be this season? Is it going to be in a couple of seasons if they don't do well this season? So it's coming.
Yeah, to me, best case, I think Jordan Morgan becomes their left tackle. I think Gannon, we didn't talk much about him, but new defensive coordinator. He can kind of fix some of those late game collapses that they had. They draft a corner, and he turns into a good starter in day 2 because they don't have a first round draft pick, so they don't have much draft capital because of the Parsons deal. And I think they finish, in that 11, potentially 12 wins, and could maybe contend for the division title. I think worst case is the opposite of all that. Obviously, left tackle doesn't get solved, corner's a mess, and they only win, I think, 6-7 games.
Yeah, my best case scenario for them is 7th again. Unfortunately, that I don't see them. I don't see them being any higher than that. And their worst case, like you were saying, Ian, they don't get a good backup quarterback. Malik Willis leaves. Jordan Love injures himself, and they're really struggling to find any offense. And Tucker Craft doesn't come back as he was before he got injured. So, and then I see him in the top 10 of the draft next year if that happens.
Best case, I think, just having a look at their schedule, best case could be that, I think like Brad said, they might be able to get to 11, 12 wins. Maybe they bank a few early. And then, maybe Micah Parsons comes back and obviously can transform that defense. They hit on their draft picks on day 2 and 3, particularly defensively. Because I know that this division's got the NFC. Yes, it's got the NFC South and the AFC South this year. Those are the divisional opponents that they're playing. Worst case, obviously, is that they miss the playoffs. They take a step back offensively, and it sort of just becomes a spot of, what are they doing with Matt LaFleur? He's probably going to be looking elsewhere the season after. So, yeah, it's a bit challenging because they're sort of in this middle road, a bit like the Steelers. They can't really afford to just be 9-8, 10-7 sort of thing. 7 seed just doesn't make sense. Middle of the road. I know they've got no draft picks, so there's no real point tanking. But even just to be able to go through, like if they have a bad year, just to be able to go through and maybe clear rid of the deck, and even in the second round have a higher pick. It can be much of a difference. So yeah, that would be worst cases if they obviously miss the playoffs and maybe finish bottom of the division.
This isn't the NBA, Nick. We can't tank here, okay?
You can for now. You can tank for now.
Yeah, the Packers, interesting enough, have a lot of draft picks in the last couple of rounds. So that's depth stuff and taking flyers on guys. And I think they really need to take some proper flyers on guys. Like, look at guys who could possibly be really good in the next couple of seasons and take that flyer. And if they don't work out, you've only wasted a 6th or 7th round pick, then it is what it is. Yeah, they've got 3 7th round picks, for instance, just from different scenarios that have come up. So, yeah, the no first round pick is problematic, but I think, yeah, best case for them is things do work out and they do come back. I still don't think that they're going to be at the top of the division in 2026, though. That's, yeah, I just don't see a way that can happen. Lightning can strike, but I just don't see the way this division is. I don't see that happening with the Packers. Last team in the NFC North for the breakdown, the Detroit Lions. Now, I mean, my biggest thing with Detroit Lions is who are the Detroit Lions now? Because I feel like they are in this trouble zone where this team and largely the offense has been together for a number of seasons now. We are getting to the point where those guys that they drafted that they absolutely hit on in the Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn era, because I think we can call that now. That's what we can sort of call that part now, not the I think that's what we can call it now when you go with coordinators. In that era, those guys that they hit on and the guys that got big in that year, we get to the point where these guys are coming up for contracts. And you can't pay everybody. And you look at that roster, and they're all big names. They're names that everybody knows. Apart from Goff, like you're talking about Gibbs, you're talking about St. Brown, Jameson Williams. You keep moving down to, I forgot Penny Sewell was even on that team. Hutchinson got a good deal, like a big one. So he's in there for a lot on the cap. Anzalone. I don't know, there's heaps, but it's just who are the Detroit Lions? Because this team finished 4th in the division with a horrible record at 9-8, considering who this team is. It's not a horrible record for other divisions, but in this division, and that team and these names, 9-8 for Dan Campbell, I feel like is horrible. So who are they? Because you can't move forward just trading on hopes and dreams and good feelings and we're going to bite some kneecaps. It just can't, you can't do that. So I think for me, they need a direction. They need some kind of solid foundation to come back to because Dan Campbell isn't foundation alone. They need to figure out just how to move forward, how to solidify themselves, move forward, sign some of these guys, again, take some of those big flies in the draft because they have some really good draft picks. They're picking 17th in the first round, for instance. So that seems like it's a really good spot considering the pieces they have already signed. So that's where it is for me. That's my biggest question. Who are the Detroit Lions?
Big problem as well. Obviously, you mentioned the guys that they've paid already. You know, Jared Goff cap hit is 70 million this year. So that's a big chunk.
I hadn't even looked that far.
Amon-Ra St. Brown at 33, Penei Sewell at 28, Alan McNeil at 29. So that's, you know, how many millions right there. You know, they might have to work some magic with restructuring guys and everything. You know, apart from, you know, Hutchinson and Anzalone, they've got a lot of guys on defense that they really, you just don't know, like they really need to fix up that side as well. I know they've been injured the last 2 years horribly. You know, those guys come back. Are they really going to make that much of a difference now? I don't think so. You know, Hutchinson had a good year last year. So they do need some guys on that side of the ball. So they've got to hit, you know, a lot of defensive side of the ball. But spoke about a little bit earlier, you know, Ben Johnson came in and what was the motor of this team when he first came in a few years ago was obviously they fixed up their O-line, particularly that interior. That interior now for that Detroit O-line is now not as good. Guys have moved on. They're still, you know, shifting guys around, trying to make it work. Haven't quite hit it on the head. So that's hasn't been as good. That's affecting obviously Jared Goff. They weren't as good offensively last year. Obviously they've gone with a new OC. They got the guy from I think Arizona. Can't remember his name. What that's
Petsinger
going to do,
or
I'm not
whatever.
sure.
Petzing.
Yeah,
Drew Petzing.
yeah. So we was able to work some sort of magic with even Jacoby Brissett. So I don't know. Maybe there could be something there, but I agree with what you said, Ian. They've got a lot of uh, holes to fill in terms of defensively. They've got to fix up that O line. They can do that in this draft. They haven't got a lot of money to spend, obviously, with free agency. So it's one of those weird sort of years where they just got to sort of retool. And if they can elevate their floor with the guys that they've got already, they've got the talent. They've obviously got the talent. So if they can elevate the floor with what they've got, before obviously they've got to pay Sam Laporta, Jimmy Gibbs, all those guys, then they'll be competitive and they'll won't be back to what they were 2 years ago, but they'll definitely be better than what they were last year and finishing last.
Isaac, what are your thoughts?
Just listening to those two guys talking about who's coming off contract. If you're Dan Campbell, you know how these NFL teams, they like to go on about having statements of how they want the season to end, and how they want the season to look. If I'm Dan Campbell, I'm saying to everyone there, this is their last dance. Do you know what I mean? So kind of like the Michael Jordan story. All right, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs, everyone like that. This is it. We're going all in on this year. We are Super Bowl or bust. And if we don't make the Super Bowl this year, you can go sign somewhere for $50 million a year or whatever you want to do. But we are going to rebuild and retool, and this is it. This is us. If you want to win one with Jared Goff and Jameer Gibbs, Laporta, all those guys, this is a year. Because next year we're going in a completely different direction, and that will be the motto all year as to fuel these guys to go on and try and make the Super Bowl. That just listening from that, I was just like, well, this sounds like a part where Dan Campbell can manifest something, manifest it, and try and push them to a Super Bowl. Do I see it happening? I don't think so, because just for the fact that they get so beat up and Ben Johnson's gone, the offense isn't the same. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to watch. But do I see them? Best case scenario, I see them getting maybe first in the division and getting knocked out in the playoffs. Worst case is they grab a couple of major injuries on offense. Say Amon-Ra and Jimmy Gibbs go down. Well, then that's it. That's it. That's the season gone.
Yeah.
Best case, worst case, Brad. Give me yours. I want to know your best case, worst case.
Best case is I think they re-signed David Montgomery because his contract situation is tense because right now, basically, if they can keep him, they stay in a two-back kind of stress mode, where they can grind you, and then they hit you with Gibbs. But and also Montgomery is their primary pass blocker. But if they lose Montgomery because of the salary cap contract issues, I think they become much more one-dimensional. So I think if any team needs two backs for their offensive system, it's Detroit. And then, of course, like what you guys have said, the offensive line, having Decker just came back and said that he's coming back this week, this season at left tackle. That's huge. Because if he didn't come back, that means they lose Ragnow, their center, last year, and then Decker this year, which would be just a massive, massive blow. And they still have not recovered from Ragnow, and losing him. The guy they plugged in there got a little bit better, but he still was he was a little bit of a turnstile. So, those are the best case scenarios, and I think they still could contend for the Super Bowl. I really do. If all those things hit right, they can contend. I think I agree with you that this is kind of it. They need to push all their chips in, and then
Yeah.
hopefully somebody pans out on that defensive side in the back end, secondary, and Hutchinson gets some more rushing help. Worst case
Yeah.
scenario, offensive line falls apart. You see Goff get injured, and they're a 7-win team.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I'm pretty much very similar to Brad in terms of worst case scenario. Obviously that contract for Goff is massive, so
Mm.
they are very much stuck if they can't protect him because we know what he's. I mean, Isaac will know. Um, if you can't keep Goff upright and don't give him a good offensive line, and I mean they've got the run game obviously with Gibbs and Monty, but if they can't keep him upright, he's not a mobile quarterback, so they're going to force him around and everything. It's going to be problematic for them. And then obviously defensively, if they don't get it together. But best case scenario, so obviously with the fourth place schedule, having that year, it might sort of put them into a spot where, really benefits them coming into this year. I mean,
Yeah,
apart
you're
from their
right.
divisional opponents, so their home games next year, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, New England, the Jets, the Titans, the Giants, and then their road games, non-divisional, are the Falcons, the Bills, the Panthers, Miami, and Arizona. So there's a lot of winnable games there, and they don't
Yeah,
have to
there
be
are.
exactly what they were 2 years ago. Um, Even to be able to win this division, it looks like because there's a lot of teams that they'd be able to beat there. And then obviously if they can get back to winning in their division, but best case is I mean they might like we said before, if they're going to swing and have this year and be like, right, this is the year, Super Bowl bust. They might go out and after the draft is done, let's spend first and the second, maybe get Max Crosby, someone else on the other side from Aiden Hutchinson, just to give him
Hmm.
some help, just so that they can't double team one or the other. They can't double team both, sorry, but yeah, just something that where they can just and Max Crosby will fit perfectly into a Dan Campbell coach team,
Yeah,
the type of
wouldn't
player
he?
that he is. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, best case scenario is that they can actually get, they fix what they've got up front, both sides of the trenches, what they were built for. Yeah, they can get back to winning this division, and who knows, maybe 1 seed or even two or 3 seed, and then go from there.
I think they need to do well. I really do think they need to do well because I worry about this team in terms of developing draft talent because of the flux situation they constantly have been finding themselves in with coordinators now. Like Dan Campbell not being a coach, like developing that talent. There's got to be they need to start looking at life after Jared Goff, and
Absolutely.
you can't just keep going into seasons with Kyle Allen as just your only backup because at the moment those two are the only quarterbacks on the roster. So you can't just keep doing that. So what is the plan post Jared Goff? You need to figure that out while you have Jared Goff. This is not the year to be drafting a quarterback because there's probably not a lot. Or it might be the year to draft a quarterback in the 6th or 7th round, a guy that you think could be a 3 or a 4 year prospect. That could be, you get a cheap guy and see what he's like on the practice field. But you need to start figuring it out. What's life like after him? What's life like after, at some point when you can't afford St. Brown or you can't afford them and Gibbs? As you said, Brad, this is, if ever there was a 2-back team, this is it. So, what's life like after David Montgomery? So where do you go from here? But I don't trust them to pick up people in a draft and develop them. Is the only one I get. This is ever been a free agent team ever that existed. This is the one. This is the one where everyone goes, I love that culture. I want to be there. And then that's why they come for the good times and the vibes. But will that get them to a Super Bowl? We saw that a couple of years ago. It almost did, but that was that lightning in a bottle. All right, that is the NFC North breakdown. Now we've got another one next week, the week after next. Boys, instead of Look, last week we picked NFC North because we may as well went with it because Brad called everything last week NFC North when we were doing the AFC North. But this week I thought we might go with something a little fairer. And let's spin a wheel.
Oh,
Here we
All
go.
right.
What are we going to do next week? It is... Oh, yes!
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, hang on.
AFC West! Oh, what a... That was... We were almost in the danger zone then, although I don't know whether we might have needed to get rid of the South early, but we are officially doing AFC West next week. You can find everything about us at G'day Gridiron on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. YouTube, search for us there. Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network for links to everything about all of the Aussie Gridiron Network. We hope you enjoy all this stuff. If you've got any comments, any thoughts on any of the things we've talked about tonight with the NFC North, please hit us up on socials or YouTube and let us know your thoughts. We will be back next week with the AFC West breakdown. See ya.
Chargers.